Sometimes I wonder, what are we doing here on this planet Earth? Why are we here? Without getting into a big philosophical discussion, I came up with a rather straightforward answer. I don't know. However, there's one thing I do know. We came into this world with abundance of energy that's meant for making and creating stuff. If we consider the whole universe in terms of pure energy and the process of giving it away, the sun is probably the best example of this. The sun is basically a supermassive ball of pure heat energy. A total of 173,000 terawatts of solar energy strikes the Earth continuously. That's like more than 10,000 times the world's total energy use. This energy is first converted into food as a source of fuel for the plants through a process called photosynthesis. As plants grow, this energy is again transformed into all kinds of fruits, which is a source of fuel for organic life on Earth, such as human beings and animals. As we grow into full-grown Homo sapiens, this energy is then converted into all the stuff we build that we now call as society. Everything is a perpetual process of giving energy away for the purpose of creation. The sun provides plants with energy, then the plants provide us food. Then we serve our fellow human beings with the same energy in the form of creative work. As a member of the cosmos, that's basically the reason for our human existence. To give energy away freely for the purpose of multiplication. But how do we give it away? This might sound easy at first, but using the energy meaningfully towards a certain purpose requires tremendous patience, commitment, and some insights into how we operate as an organism. Before we dive deeper into this, as usual, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button. That would be a tremendous help. This is probably the only advice that you would ever need in order to be super productive in life. We all have a deep inner desire of becoming extremely good or the 99th percentile in a certain field. The Albert Einsteins of the physics world, the actors that have won numerous accolades, the athletes who are able to push their physical capabilities to the limits. We often look at these superhumans in awe, thinking that it's impossible to be like them, that we are not born with the talented genes they seem to have. Sure, these people might have more talents at doing certain stuff that we can't control. Some people are born with the height genes. That's why they have the good initial foundations to be good basketball players. But it doesn't mean that once they have these genes, it will be smooth sailing all the way. They still have to do the hard manual labor, which then gives us no excuses whatsoever not to do something. We receive roughly the same amount of solar energy, so we can work hard if we decide to. The problem, however, is not a lack of energy. It's how we fail to mobilize it. Our culture today is brought about by fake advertisements everywhere. Have this protein shake and you will get instant abs. Get into this financial program and you'll get rich quick. The models in these commercials clearly show that they don't have to put in the work to attain the desired results. They just need to use the products in these ads and they will have the desired results. But these commercials ultimately hide the fundamental reality that all valuable things in life require lots of effort from you. The actor probably doesn't use any of the health products. Maybe all he does is work hard and exercise. But obviously, they won't show you this. Why would these company men show you what you don't want to see? Telling you the real truth, that you need to put in countless hours of hard work, is boring. Nobody is ever interested in boring, sweaty work that lasts for years and years. Everyone is only interested in instantaneous results, right here, right now. Give me a solution that brings the results right away, and I will listen. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother. Our brains have been so utterly brainwashed by the fake ads culture that we often become disillusioned with the work. Why can't I get the results as quickly as these ads seem to suggest? Am I doing something wrong? No, you're probably doing it right. The problem is, you're always comparing yourself with the improbable standards of these commercials. When I say commercials, I'm only talking about a tiny aspect of a much broader pattern here. Nowadays, we're always doing commercials with ourselves as the product. Particularly with the growth of social media, now we have the platform to be able to self-aggrandize and flaunt ourselves. Similar to the commercials, we are unlikely to show the nitty-gritty side of it. For the same reason, it's boring and no one wants to see it. Then what happens is, we would set false expectations for ourselves, that it's always going to be easy. And when we realize it's not, we become disheartened to push on. The journey is long and there are no shortcuts. At the beginning, doing the work often feels like the most fun thing ever. Everything is new, there is no pressure, you're just experimenting and having fun with whatever tools you decide to play with. But as you do more of it, you will realize that the work kind of becomes tedious, mundane, and boring. It's just not as much fun as it was before. We human beings are very much wired to seek novel experiences that stimulate our mind. We are almost always tempted by the excitement of something new. A new career, a new city, a new car, a new relationship. The problem is, if we are constantly jumping from one thing to another, we are never gonna build something that lasts. If we constantly jump from one relationship to another, we'll never be able to experience the love that comes from overcoming obstacles together. If we constantly jump from one career to the other, we'll never be able to build a large enough body of work that might serve us well in the eyes of future clients. If we constantly jump from one hobby to the next, we'll never be able to acquire the unique skills that come from many years of commitment. So, how do we stay committed to only one thing when it does get tedious and mundane? A master in karate, George Leonard, explained in his book Mastery what he called the mastery curve. Basically, the curve entails many phases of different growth spurts. One is a plateau, where no growth is apparent, and the other is the spike in the learning development. The first plateau is the beginning of the work, where you're just learning new stuff. The practice is still fun and new to you, but no tangible results are apparent yet. Then, as soon as you start to get the hang of it, you will reach the second phase, which is the first growth spike of your journey. This is where you come into a profound new understanding. It may be a realization that plucking the guitar in a certain way produces a better sound, or kicking a ball from a certain angle makes a better impact. This understanding is the result of putting in the initial hours of practicing and making the same repeated movements for set activities. Then you begin to feel good and more confident about yourself. You realize that you managed to learn something new that you didn't know before. The satisfaction gets even bigger when you realize that it's the results of your own effort. Then you go into the next practice session, eager to make more improvements and more discoveries. But the overzealousness could prove to be a big stumbling block for your further progress. It kind of creates new false expectations that you're gonna make new discoveries every time you do the practice. Welcome to the second plateau. Here, the mental hurdle gets even more difficult. Having expected to get better in a shorter time, gradually you would grow impatient with the work when no results are visible. The repeated movements of the same practice get even more tedious and boring, while no new results seem to be taking place. Obviously, it's very easy to get discouraged by this point. In fact, many people quit at the second plateau. The curve greatly illustrates the overarching pattern of our learning journey. It tells us where we are at the moment, when we should be more patient, and when we should keep our complacency in check after just making a new breakthrough. Understanding the whole cycle will bring us to a mature understanding of what to expect in this whole journey. Obviously, the growth spurts are the most enjoyable and the most satisfying parts of the journey. It explains itself really. So, focusing more on the plateaus is gonna be the first order of the day. Sometimes, when we are deep in the plateau, we don't even realize we are on it. We even forget that there's such a thing called a plateau, that at the end of it is another breakthrough that we are all striving for. Forgetting this will most likely cause us to give up prematurely. A good way to overcome the plateau is what a positive psychologist, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, termed as the flow state. The flow state is basically the in-the-zone moment that sometimes takes place when we are performing optimally, both mentally and physically. When we are in the zone, we encounter these aha moments that kind of open us up to a higher consciousness in a way, and therefore causes indescribable feelings of joy and contentment. A professional NBA player was said to experience the flow state when he just let everything go through the motions, as if his body is being guided by the higher consciousness. It's almost like there's no conscious effort on his part, and he sort of intuitively knew that the ball would go in even before it actually happened. For those of you who have participated in a practice of any kind, probably you have felt the presence of the flow state a few times before, but are unable to articulate it. It's such an incredible feeling to have. But how do we manufacture this state? In his book Flow, Csikszentmihalyi explains it brilliantly. There are two things we have to keep in mind: making it easy enough so it's kinda doable, and making it challenging enough to make it worthwhile. If it gets too difficult, you are more likely to quit before even trying. It's perhaps a good time to return to the basics until you have enough confidence to go to the higher difficulty level. If it's too easy, however, you're more likely to get bored to pursue it until the very end. It's a good idea to step it up a notch. Striking the sweet spot just between the two is where you can find the flow state. Easy, but not too easy. Challenging, but not too challenging. It's how we can fall in love with the dreaded plateau to which millions of victims have fallen prey. It's how we can fall in love with the practice that will eventually bring us over the finish line. These are my productivity tips. I realize that so much of our potential remains hidden because we don't really understand how our mind works. By constantly comparing with others and creating these impossible standards in our own mind, we set ourselves up for failure. By not thoroughly enjoying the intricacies of practice, we forsake our promises to ourselves that we will persevere until the end. There is no shortcut to success. As cliché as it may sound, the journey is where all the fun is. Enjoy the process.